Welcome to the November 28th meeting of the Rotary Club of Jamestown. Please join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance, singing our national anthem, and repeating the four-way test. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Oh, say, can you see I belong to the leading line? What so proudly we hail at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight. For the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, it proved through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the home of the brave. Let's repeat the four-way test of the things we think, say, or do. Is it the truth?
Is it the truth?
Is it fair to all concerned?
Is it fair to all concerned?
Will it build goodwill and better friendship?
Will it build goodwill and better friendships?
Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Our invocation today is given by Vince Horrigan.
Will you bow your heads, please? Lord, we thank you for this season of gratitude. We are so grateful for our country that we live in, those who defend it. We're thankful for a time with family, with friends. We're thankful for Rotary. We thank you today for visitors from countries far away. The motto of Rotary is world peace through understanding. Lord, help us understand, to communicate, and to listen effectively. So as Rotarians, we can be part of that world peace and that we can continue to do the things that you want us to do. In your name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Vince. So we're going to do it a little different today. We're going to start with the program, as Sally has a flight to catch to Warsaw today. So please, it is my pleasure to welcome Sue Jones from the program committee to introduce our speaker.
Thank you very much for that applause. I appreciate it. This is the last time I think I'll see you until April. So I wish you the happiest of holidays and coming few months of winter, and I hope they are soft for all of you. Now, on to our speaker today. Joining us is Sally Naetzker Baer. Naetzker, yes, of the Naetzker family. I just asked her. That is her uncle. My dad and my yes, uncle and dad. And she is a native of Asheville. She left here in her early 20s to pursue academics in the New York City metro area, where she stayed for nearly 20 years. Sally married Tom Baer here in 2001 and served in Ethiopia, Kazakhstan, and Nepal, doing community development, teaching English, basic healthcare, and other community development activities. In 2016, they moved to South Carolina to transition their son to college life in the United States and to prepare for further overseas service. Hoping to return to live in Kazakhstan, the pandemic brought Tom and Sally and their 3 youngest children back to Chautauqua County in October 2020. They now own an old-fashioned toy and candy store in downtown Lakewood, known as Six Baers Toy and Gift Shop, with an outlet in the Asheville General Store. When the Ukrainian war began last February, Tom and Sally knew Sally was uniquely prepared to go to Poland and the Ukraine to help in any way possible to support the Ukraine. She's here to share a little bit more about her journey serving the Ukraine. Welcome, Sally.
Well, good afternoon, and thank you so much.
Closer.
Okay. Thank you so much for including me today in your day and during this holiday season. I really appreciate it. Basically, that was half of my talk is what she just said. So I'll try to fill in. Yeah, I'll fill in the rest of it as best I can. So as was mentioned, like many of you, when the war broke out, or I shouldn't say the war because it's been going on since 2014, but when the invasion, full-scale invasion happened, I sat at home just kind of like shocked and appalled that something like this could happen in our lifetime, you know, that a government would think that that was appropriate behavior. And there was a choice to be made, like many of us face every day, whether to you know, for me to just, you know, kind of sit and be very, very frustrated and concerned by what was going on, or to get up and do something. And as was mentioned, I was uniquely prepared. COVID had really made that even more obvious because we had not gone overseas in a couple of years, and that had not been the case for the last 20 years. So I knew that having lived in Ethiopia and Kazakhstan and Nepal, we were never part of an organization. We did those services as a family, that I could easily go into Poland and do something, like easily get the resources together and do something. So my son agreed to come with me, which gave me even more courage, I think, than I would have probably had. And at that point, I had already connected, probably the third day of the invasion, with a couple of Ukrainians. One was in California and one was at the time in Kentucky. And they had already started raising money for military vests, civilians that were defending the country. And even some of the military at that time did not have vests in order to help protect themselves. So it was a huge need. And as a grassroots organization for the last 20 years, I quickly slipped into this grassroots role that continues to this day. And the difference between grassroots and organizations is that a grassroots person or people can kind of go underneath the radar a little bit of things that otherwise could make things complicated. This morning, I just got a message about, I think it's 100 knit wool hats. There's a community of us that are trying to get hats into Kherson right now. And they got stopped at customs, whereas I've got a bag of probably 100 more that people in this area in my bag that nobody's going to look at, and they're just going to walk into Ukraine probably by tomorrow night. So it's just an example, a small example of how this grassroots thing has really been a paramount part of this invasion. So I had no idea that I'd be standing here almost 9 months now? It's 9 months, 9 months later. I thought it was a one and done that we would go. And in that first trip, I immediately rented a van and was able to start bringing aid over into Ukraine through Lviv and to bring refugees out. I had partnered with a couple other people. You just meet people and kind of put things together as you can in this kind of situation. And we opened 2 guest houses because there were still at the time a lot of refugees fleeing into the country. And I was also able to help facilitate, this is a kind of one example of just how crazy this journey has been. You all are awake when we're sleeping, when we're in Poland, and I would constantly get Facebook messages or texts or whatnot. And my second cousin, Julie Dudgeon, she texted me and said she knew the owner of Logistics Plus, which is a logistics company in Erie. And again, throughout this whole time, there's always been this tension between sort of big organizations getting kind of bogged down in some bureaucracy, and then, you know, these kind of underground people running around doing things. So I did contact him. He said that they couldn't do anything with military defense, but he told me that his international director was in Poland at the time. So I contacted him and I asked him where he was. He was literally a mile away. So we ended up having breakfast. Long story short, Logistics Plus helped get, I think it's 9,000 pounds of military drones and vests and infrared things into the country. Yes, it was amazing. It was a $50,000 tab. It took it's a big push because as soon as that stuff leaves, even the warehouse that it was at, or it was at my friends in California, the paperwork process of that is intense, like especially during a war, like they really are watching everything that's going on in those shipments. And they fast forward this summer, Frances, my friend here, she'll know about this because I secured, I think it was 12 pallets of medical aid. And 4 of those pallets, Frances and a group of women here in the area helped sort in my garage. And we used couriers to get that into the country as fast as possible. And the other 4 Logistics Plus shipped as well. So altogether, and then they gave a large donation the last time that I was going in. So altogether, they've donated about $75,000 to this cause, which is really incredible. So yes, a local organization for sure. So that said, to date, because of over 700 people, organizations, can you hear me okay? Okay. We have been able to bring in over 13 ton of aid into Ukraine. That's, like I said, over 700 different donors and supporters. And one of the things that this recently, it's over $650,000 at this point. And I'm going to just name some of the things that I facilitated because of those generous people. We've been able, like I mentioned, the 9,000 pounds of military defense vests and drones through Logistics Plus went into Donbass. This was early in the war. We created 2 guest houses in Poland. Again, early in the war. There's been at the time, early in the war, it was $4,500 to Irpin. Irpin was one of the places I was most connected to early in the war. Now I go into Lutsk, Ukraine on a regular basis. There's been $5,000 worth of food and sleeping bags and whatnot into the Kharkiv area. At this point, we're over 1,000 tourniquets, over 6 drones, and medical aid that go directly to the Ukrainian military through the organization that they're volunteers that I work with in Lutsk, Ukraine. There's 40 volunteers there, and I've partnered with them since July. And then the hospital aid, the 4 pallets that went in directly to Kyiv through Logistics Plus. So since July, in the beginning of the war, I set up a Facebook group that was couriers. And so to date, we have brought in 240 bags through using individuals. They would find me on the internet, and a lot of them were people that are from this area that we knew. And typically you bring 10 bags, it's 50 pounds each, so that's 500 pounds. They would pay for their airfare and their luggage fees. At first, the first couple of couriers would raise the aid that was going, and I would put up an Amazon list of what we needed, whether it was infrared sights or whatever. And so there's been over 27 flights that have gone into to Warsaw as a result of this work. So in July, I couldn't manage doing the couriers anymore. It was a huge amount of work, as Frances can attest to. So I switched, and after meeting with the people in Ukraine a number of times, we drilled down on what was most difficult for them to get. And they're able, because they're so close to Europe, to get pretty much anything that they need. If they have the money and the resources, they can get it. So the one thing they could not get were military tourniquets. A military tourniquet is a life-saving device that, if used within the first seconds or first minutes of somebody getting hit by whatever, it will save their life, because it'll stabilize them from bleeding out until they can get to something more, something more helpful treatment. the group that I work with on average goes through 200 tourniquets a month, sending them to various military fronts and operations. And so I partnered with them basically and said, okay, that's what I'll do. Never knowing, coming back, would I ever be able to raise the money? I'm primarily doing it on Facebook. Now it's primarily doing it through talks like this, and just people like all over the place. A little Bible school, Bible camp in Randolph said that they wanted to try to raise 10 tourniquets. And, Tom and I went out, we talked to the little kids. There was like 30 of them and, blah, blah, blah. Well, anyway, they raised $1,100. So it was a lot of tourniquets. And then another person anonymously was so touched by that they matched that $1,100. And it just kind of keeps going like that. I don't normally point to people because it's very emotional to see so many people believe in this process and to believe in the light and to believe that we can make a difference. But Francis has been an incredible supporter of this work from the beginning. And it's very humbling for me to sit next to somebody like that and to understand that all of us are believing that we do make a difference, that we can be light in darkness and in such a dark time, and for this country, for Ukraine, and really for people around the world. Because my belief is that if Ukraine, loses this fight for freedom, that it's a shift in world order and a shift of fight for freedom, basically around the world. So that's what keeps motivating me to keep going, is that people do believe that we can make a difference, and we are in fact making a difference. So at this point, I continue to do the tourniquets primarily because they cannot get them in Europe. It's very expensive. They're very hard to get at this point. I have a relationship with a company down in Anderson, South Carolina, for whatever reason. Again, a God thing. If I could point to the God things, if you weren't a believer, you would be, because it's really incredible to watch and see the doors that he's opened up. So I called this company back in like July or August, said I'm looking for tourniquets. They said that we have them. She put me on hold. I told her what I was doing. She came back, and instead of $37, they became $23. I get them for the military rate. That was just purely them offering that to me. By the time that I buy those tourniquets and get them into Ukraine, they're about $28 a piece, which is well under the $37 still. So it's really been, and I set a random goal back in like August, I think, of 1,000. I never thought we would meet it, because that's a lot of money. For 400, it's $10,000. So last trip I took $10,000 and 2 drones for another $5,000 or $6,000. And that was just 6 weeks ago, I think. And now I'm going today again with 400 more, $10,000, and a couple of a little bit better quality drones. So it's like $6,000 worth of drones. So 16, 17,000. On average, we're raising about $10,000 a month at this point. So I have a quick montage of, I really couldn't begin to dissect the last 9 months of the weeks and weeks that I've been in Ukraine and here, and just the whole process. But I put together this quick montage of what's happened so you could visually see it. This first video, I'll just give you a little backdrop. This man, Vitaly, we've become very close. He's like a son to me now. He has picked me up and brought me into Ukraine on numerous occasions. And we've gradually, his English is now really good because we spend all the time talking. And he and his wife and I drove to Kyiv on the last trip. We went through Bucha and Irpin. I actually went to the church that I was, just distantly knew about from the beginning of the war. Anyway, we were in Kyiv in the Freedom Square, and it's a very common thing in that part of the world to have this big public square, and there's big loudspeakers that used to put out propaganda, and so now they use them for various things. It was a beautiful day, and there was nobody in the square. It's in the center of Kyiv, and all of a sudden this national song about the love of Kyiv came out on the loudspeaker, and without thinking, me and this man got up and started to dance. And it was just this moment of freedom that was like just undescribable. So that's the beginning, and then you'll kind of see the rest, and you can ask questions after it. I think it's almost done. So I'll take any questions. Yeah.
Shame on me, I forgot to introduce Dr. Francis Lipinski, her right-hand man. And Dr. Lipinski is a retired pathologist. She and her husband, also a pathologist, who passed away. They had practices here at WCA and at Warren. And she's packing things in garages and helping prepare and helping raise money as well.
Any questions? So you've been there before, you're going to go again. Is there any hope that this poor country is going to make it and survive?
So that's a powerful question. This will be my 5th trip today. I'm leaving to go back. Today I'm not going, this will be the first time I'm not going to Ukraine. The infrastructure is so precarious at this point, and many people are trying to leave to take a load off of that infrastructure and just to make it through winter. So the border either like can shut down because of lack of electricity, or there's just a lot of people like miles long to get through it. So anyway, my answer to that question is that they are 150% winning right now. And that's why you're seeing what you're seeing on their infrastructure. He can't win on the ground. He knows he's not winning on the ground. And so this is his way of basically trying to terrorize the people in the country into submission. But as far as I can see, that is not ever going to happen. That country will fall off the face of the map, or else they're going to win, because they're not going to quit. Like, they just won't quit. They'll send every single person they've got to make this happen at this point, because they're that proud of their country and its heritage and its culture and its people. So.
Just curious, you were talking about drones and infrared sites. Are you connected to the State Department or some type of, USA department in coordination for that?
Yeah, good question. So yeah, I'm a 61-year-old woman, and the first time that I ever heard or even thought about some of this, I was at Asheville General in the stock room, just doing whatever, trying to get ready to go on the first trip. And somebody from Europe called and said that they had a group in Ukraine that could make military vests if I could get them the military plates. And so I put it out. I was never a big Facebook user before, but that has really changed everything. If you're interested, you can friend me, Sally Naetzker Baer. It's a public profile at this point. I put it out there, and basically every military person that I knew responded, and I knew, to get plates that were level 4. I learned all that stuff, and then hanging out in hotels in either Poland or in Ukraine, I meet ex-military people that are volunteering there from the US and learn, what sites, they help me put my Amazon lists together. It's also surreal, but, and even, we now have specialists that help us. And then in Ukraine, of course, they tell you exactly what they need. So I have learned a lot. I try to stay away from that. Like, the drones even sort of traumatized me the last time I brought them, because I know they're using them for reconnaissance, but they're also using them as weapons. And it's a fight, within myself. I'm not that person. Saving the life is one thing, helping take out people is another thing. So I basically just pretend that my drones are being used for reconnaissance, even though next week they'll probably be destroyed. They're literally, that's how fast they go, is within a week or two. Yeah.
How many people have been lost?
So the estimate is 100,000 on each side. Yeah.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
The Russians obviously are targeting the power infrastructure,
Yeah.
Electricity. A group in my church is working with other churches to send generators and fuel, but when the fuel runs out, it's going to be hard to get it anyway. There are handheld or pocket size solar cells you can use to recharge GPS units, telephones, and that sort of thing. That seems like it would be strategic value, but I haven't heard much about that being set over.
Yeah, so it's really, that's a great question. It's really amazing. The military, it's almost like they're, they know, and the citizens defense too, they are on the cutting edge of basically the bare minimum of what it takes to survive, right? So that Starlink, was huge at the beginning, and and throughout the war. And now that they're targeting the infrastructure, even the group I'm working with are now going to subscribe to Starlink because they have to keep going because they're supporting the military, you know, the Ukrainian military. And so any of those solar things and whatnot, they would be securing those in Europe and bringing them into the country. And I just have to say, like, the tenacity of the Ukraine people is amazing. And yes, I would say the elderly population is probably the hardest hit because it's just so hard for them to leave the country if they want to leave or to secure food or whatnot. But people are looking out for each other. Like never in the history of the world has Europe or the world flung open their doors and received, 4 million individuals with open arms. And I understand that that is a racial issue, right? Because these people look like us, and that's not, to me, that's just kind of I don't know, it wasn't like that in Siberia. I mean, not Siberia, but in Syria or other places. And so I think there's a lot of history to be learned about that as well.
I don't believe in coincidences. I was 2 minutes from not coming today.
Okay.
I grabbed my checkbook. I never carry my checkbook, but we do birthday table. My birthday was last Wednesday. You are the hands and feet of the Lord. God bless you.
Thank you. Yeah. Any other questions? Okay, well, thank you very much. It's very humbling to be here and to be amongst you all. And I just thank you very, very much for prayers and for support.
Thank you for your presentation today. Just want to we pray for your success and your safe travels. And one of Rotary's major international programs is to eradicate polio in the world. And in honor and thanks for your presentation to Rotary Club today, we'll make a donation in your name. We'll vaccinate 4 children who will never experience polio in their life. Thank you for coming in and for your presentation. We pray for safe travels for you.
Thank you.
Let us know when you get back and how it goes.
Thank you. Thank you.
We'll pick up where at the beginning of our program. Please welcome Vice President Marion Beckerink to announce our visiting Rotarians and guests.
John. We've already met and welcomed Francis Lipinski. Thank you for being here. We also want to welcome Jean Harper, I think is still here. George, I apologize. There you are. Sorry, looking right at you. And we have 4 really special guests today, and I'm going to ask them to indulge me by standing when I mention your name. We have the officers from the International Club at Jamestown Community College. And I'll start just alphabetically with the president of the organization. And I've got to look at your name one more time. Anita Kolumbitsewa. Is that correct? There we are. And we have next the secretary, Evarina Mustafa from Benin, Congo. Welcome. Okay, thank you. Welcome. And Jaden Pele from South Africa. And Palede Lamani, is that correct? From South Africa as well. Welcome.
Thank you, Mary, and welcome everyone. Announcements. Our Rotarily Yours recorded today is Rudy and Delora. As always, many thanks to you and the Communications Committee for all that you do. December 5th. December 5th is the a cappella choir performance at First Lutheran Church. If you haven't signed up, please do. 11:15 lunch begins and the performance at noon. Then December 12th, we have our annual medium where we'll introduce our new board members for July 2023 and some other club business. So please plan on attending. A quorum is required. And then December 19th, we're going to have our Christmas holiday party, location to be determined. Let's see what else we got. Vision Committee meeting, we have this Thursday at 1 or noon. And that's at Community Foundation or on Zoom. And then also, if we have any tech savvy individuals, we're thinking of trying to start some communications group committee program. So if anybody knows anything about computers, we're looking for you. Any additional announcements?
John, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hey, John. Hi, everybody. Hey, just a reminder. Well, I hope everybody have a great Thanksgiving. I'm on the road, so sorry about the camera angle. Probably not very flattering, but just a reminder: the Red Kettle, December 6th, December 3rd. I know there's some slots available for those who would like to come and participate, but just a plug gets more participation. Thank you, John.
Red Kettle signups. Thank you. And then Sherry sent a message. The Youth Exchange Committee possibly has 2 unconfirmed applicants for next year. Deadline for preliminary application is Wednesday, November 11th. We not receive any applications. We'll likely interview next week. Committee members will be notified by email by the end of the week with dates for interviews. And also looking for a driver to take you out to Dunkirk for the Buffalo weekend on Friday. You need to be at the multiplex near the thruway entrance by 2, and the Fredonia Club will take them the rest of the way. So if anybody can drive, please contact Sherry.
Just real quick, social committee, I know the holiday party is December 19th. I'm still working out the finalized details. So if anybody is available after this meeting, just want 5 or 10 minutes to go over some options so we can make a decision and get that out to the club as soon as possible. I guess we vary from whether we want to go really nice or what type of party we want to have. The only thing I do know is the goal is probably to beat Jim Smith's pants in a competition of holiday attire. So apparently that's going to be one of our goals. So hope to see everybody there. We'll make sure we have signups online and we'll get you more information in an email shortly.
Very good. Thank you, Michelle.
Oh, yeah, I have them. Okay. You already gave me a picture. I'm ready. All right.
And we have one more announcement. This is from the DEI committee. We are trying to expand the reach of our club, as many of you know. So we've drafted a letter that any of you can be a part of. If you know someone in the community who's new, either in a new business, a new partnership, we'd like to send them a letter under John's signature mentioning that you suggested they may be a good, not necessarily a member, but come and join us for lunch and see what Rotary is doing, what we're all about. So we'll send out a copy of the letter to each of you so you can see the content. It's very straightforward, very simple, but the idea is to please give me or Ruth London copies of names of folks that you think would be great to add to the list. So we'd love to welcome more folks. So thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Ruth.
Hi, everybody. It's really important to recognize 2 very special people. That is Ruth Lundeen and Max I. Miller. I want to give them a special thank you in front of everyone because they dedicated time by coming to our international club meeting once a week and listening to us plan the event and supporting our students and giving them ideas. So I can't think of a better symbiotic relationship than this right here. So thank you. Can we have a round of applause for them? And also thank you to all who attended the event and being there at the table supporting us. The event was spectacular with panel discussions, well-moderated panel discussions, a close-up view of our wonderful students from all over the world, where people got to engage in great conversation and learn something new. The tables that the students came up with were amazing. There were make and take items and bracelets and food that you can try and games. So because of all of us getting together like this, those are the amazing ideas that are brewed. And then of course, helping our international students feel welcome and at home because they do so much for us to enrich our daily lives. So thank you again. Appreciate it.
Please get your tickets ready as we welcome Pat Kinney for today's 50-50 drawing.
Winning ticket, $34.
$34.
Just the note. Okay. 5318.
5318. 5 Mike Roberts.
All right.
Give a hand for our Sergeant at Arms, Doug Conroe.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Oh, yes. Oh, my goodness. I doubled Sue Jones's. Wow. That's good. Pat, could you just walk around the room and accept money, or would you like to bring that up here? Up front, please. Okay. But you could fill it on your way, you know. Okay. Yeah. We didn't have any feeder donations this week. This meetings are late, so I'm just going to add a Abraham Lincoln to it because of the thankfulness I have for what we've just holiday weekend we've experienced. And Friday night there was, speaking of today's program, Jane and I were enjoying a bowl of homemade turkey soup that she made from the previous day's feast. And just that morning on the morning show, the reporter did a clip of a woman in Ukraine on a border city. Her apartment was bombed out, no electricity, no power, and she was making soup on a campfire in front of her building. How fortunate we are here. And that's what I'm thankful for. Couple people to recognize. We have a new area manager for Northwest Bank in the room, supervising 5 locations throughout the city.
I'll take care of that because I sit on the Northwest board and I'm $38 richer.
Thank you, thank you. And we have some football too, you know, and our Syracuse fan left, but maybe we have a relative that, he left it with you, did he? Okay, okay. So, Dan, how much money do you have on you? Let's see. In the newspaper, ribbon cuttings and other activities. On the radio station, talking about small town business Saturday. So come on up. And is there anything else that you would like to add as long as you're up here?
Just thank everybody for your support on Small Business Saturday. It was great to see a lot of people out and about. And today for Cyber Monday, support local, shoplocalchq.com, code Cyber Monday, 20% off.
Oh, okay, okay. Great. Rotarian Magazine. Oh, who's been up on their magazine reading? Joni, you read it faithfully, don't you? There are 7 reasons to go to the international conference. How about giving me 2 of those? Close. Never pet a kangaroo. No, okay. Yes. And visit the whole world at one time, because the whole world comes to Rotary International. Okay, so cheers. I don't think you need to put anything in the paper for that. So there's another item we'll save for another week. But as we did say, Syracuse, Greg, Sue were very happy about that. Penn State, don't say John here this week. Kent, Vince, yeah, they did in UB in overtime. That other school in Ohio, Mount Union, I believe, right? Okay. And well, Lee, are you still smiling? Big smile.
Try not to be gloating too much.
Michigan.
Mike and I had a
Right.
greeting beforehand, so this is humbly a $20 bill for the victory by Michigan. And $20 bill, I just got back last night from Florida. I got to visit with 9 out of my 10 grandchildren. So,
Okay. Mr. President, happy bucks.
Happy bucks. I'll get us started throwing a happy buck for Ruth and Rudy and Max and all you guys are doing for JCC and the International Global Affair. Thank you guys for all your efforts and spring Rotary. And happy buck for the social committee, Michelle Jones and everybody for coming out for Steeners. We had a nice time there last Monday. So thanks for your efforts.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm putting in $12 because at United Way, we are starting a social media campaign called 12 Days of Gratitude. If you follow us on social media, for the next 12 days, we are going to be appreciating and thanking all of our community partners. There are 29 of them. And if you would follow us and maybe share your own appreciation and thanks for all of the good work that they do, helping seniors and students and families and lots of households across this county. So this is just a way for us to kind of take the spirit of Giving Tuesday and the holidays and kind of pay it forward to the community partners who do such good work. So follow us on Facebook. We started today. We'll be someplace tomorrow and the next day and the next. And if you haven't made your donation yet to United Way and our annual fundraising campaign, please do. Thank you.
So I have 20 happy bucks because I missed a few meetings and I have a lot to be thankful for. Had family in town this week, which is always great. My aunt had her benefit for her charity for my cousin last week, and that went very well. So in support of her, and I'm just very thankful for all the opportunities that keep popping up now to continue to serve my community and do that. And I look forward to what else I could do down the road.
Okay, looks like 1 o'clock. So reminder, First Lutheran Church for a cappella choir next week, and then back here the 12th. So with that, remember this year's international theme, Imagine Rotary. Thank you, and we are adjourned.